Hey, Westside, we're continuing to travel through the miracles of Jesus. And as we get started today, I'm reminded of a scene we've all experienced in a grocery store checkout line where you see a parent in front of you with a small child, and they're faced with a wall of tempting candy. And of course, the child is screaming for candy and the parent's saying no. And I remember a time watching a small child screaming to their parent, "You don't love me," because the parent said no and wouldn't let them have the candy that they wanted. I remember when I was in middle school, one of my responsibilities was to help with the dinner dishes several nights a week. And that meant doing the entire kitchen. That meant cleaning all of the dishes, all the counters, everything. And I remember one time complaining finally to my stepmom and saying, "This is so unfair. I'm in here doing all the work and you're in there sitting watching TV. Why don't you help me?" In today's miracle, we're going to see a really interesting setup with a man who comes to Jesus and asks him for help, but does it in a really unique way. Matthew chapter 8, verses 1 through 3 says, "When Jesus came down from the mountainside, large crowds followed him. A man with leprosy came and knelt before him and said, 'Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean.' Jesus reached out his hand and touched the man. 'I am willing,' he said. 'Be clean.' Immediately he was cleansed of his leprosy." This man approached Jesus, and it's really interesting because if you read the text, he doesn't ask Jesus a question. He doesn't even ask him to heal him. He actually makes a conditional statement. Did you catch that? He says, "Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean." He believed Jesus was able, but the struggle in his faith was whether or not Jesus was willing. And I think that's something that you and I face often when it comes to going to God in prayer, when it comes to asking for help from God. Most of the time, we don't struggle with whether he can do it. We struggle with whether he will do it. Have you ever asked Jesus to do something really big in your life, something miraculous? If so, did he answer it? Did he answer it exactly how you wanted, when you wanted? If you're like me, the answer is not always. And that's a tough thing to wrestle with, especially when it comes to big issues and especially when it comes to issues that deal with human pain and suffering. And we want God to come in and help and to fix and to heal. And yet sometimes, for whatever reasons, he chooses not to. Just one chapter before this miracle, Jesus speaks some words that give us some insight and maybe some hope and encouragement when we're facing situations where it seems like God isn't answering the way that we want and when we want. In Matthew chapter 7, verse 9, Jesus is talking about asking, and he says, "Which one of you, if your son asks for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will give him a snake? If you, then, though you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him?" And I have to be honest, we all have to be honest, we just don't always know why God doesn't answer our prayers the way we want, when we want, how we want. But I believe he's able, and I believe he's good. I believe he ultimately has my best interests in mind. And just like a loving parent doesn't always give their children what they ask for, God sometimes doesn't give us what we ask for because he knows there's ultimately something better for us. Sometimes he allows us to walk through pain and struggle and suffering rather than being whisked around it, because ultimately he knows how to work good things through those things in us. And as tough as that is to trust him in those times, we can trust him because he's good, he is faithful, and he always provides exactly what we need despite what we sometimes ask for. I hope this passage, and I hope this miracle of a man with leprosy going to Jesus and asking for help somehow gives you encouragement through whatever you're walking through today. And I hope you're encouraged to know that God is able and he is willing to answer our prayers and give us exactly what we need when we need it in the best way that we need it. God bless you. Hope you have a great day. We'll see you later.